Hi, welcome to Rope In Mental Health. I'm Garrett Kennedy, mental health consultant. Today I'd like to talk to you about, have you met yourself? Now, the question is, how do you meet yourself? Other people meet you all the time. Your friends, your family, if you have a spouse, they've all met you. They've had a first impression of you. They've had a lasting impression of you. They have an impression of you. Do you have an impression of yourself? When you walk into a room, other people instantly recognize if you're having a good day or a bad day. If this is a good day to play a prank on you, or if maybe this is a day you should be asked, just how are you doing? You know, when it comes right down to it, there's a large part of you that other people see that you may not even know yourself. There is a conscious, self-aware part of you where you are purposefully trying to hold on to keep a stiff upper lip and get through the day and pretend that all the stress in the world doesn't bother you. However, people around you notice, and there's a part of you that's trying to express that against what your conscious self is trying to do. This subconscious part of yourself, an id, if you want, or an ego, if you want, as opposed to a superego. These are the terms that are sometimes used to describe this metaphysical part of you, this part that is beyond the physical part of you. Your physical part ends at your brain, but then in around the thalamus area there, you start having something called emotions, which are an extremely complicated and really not understood principle. We have emotions. Other animals might have emotions, but we definitely have emotions. And these core subconscious emotions are instantaneous reactions that you have. And like a pet peeve, if somebody's whistling or chewing in your ear or putting their nails down a chalkboard, you have an uncontrollable physical reaction to this subconscious metaphysical threat of a thought that is annoying. There are certain things that you can or cannot deal with better or worse than the people around you. Some people can break bones and literally drive themselves to the hospital. Other people can chip a nail and require ambulatory care. This has no other way of being expressed other than the spirit of their character. What is the spirit of your character when you're threatened, when you're feeling that fight or flight response, where you're suddenly panicking? At that moment of panic, what will you do? Do you know yourself? Have you met yourself? Do you have an impression of how you will react when you're panicking? See, mental resiliency training targets this exact part of the metaphysical being. Through what I call mind massage, there are many other skills, but through mind massage, what I try to do is relax the conscious mind to a point where you can start creating a language between your conscious and subconscious mind so that you can come to terms with understanding yourself. See, the problem is, just like when you're using interpersonal relations, where you're talking to one person and there's another person who's trying to pick up the message on the other side, and you send a message from one person all the way across to another. Well, if you're speaking the same language, that's a very simple task. However, if you're in the midst of trying to talk to somebody in a language they don't understand or in technical jargon that they've never been trained on, there's a little bit of a messy communication between the two of you. Now, when it comes to intrapersonal skills, this is what we call, in the mental health field, we call it self-talk. In the business and occupational communities, we usually call this self-confidence. So when you're given a task, does your internal self tell you you're going to succeed? When you're learning a new skill, does your internal self-talk have a healthy way of describing all of the things you've done in the past, looking at this new plan or this new change in life that you're looking at, and do you tell yourself it's possible? Now, many times in mental health, when you delve into the area where somebody finally collapses and gets a mental injury, oftentimes what we find is that their self-talk, their self-dialogue, their communication between conscious and subconscious self is negative. It's telling somebody that they're not good enough, not smart enough. They lack the self-confidence, the self-efficacy, and the self-esteem to continue to be successful. They do what's called self-sabotaging, where their subconscious mind causes them to make decisions against what they willfully desire. I have known many a person who's tried to stay sober, many a person who has had a moment of relapse. And in those relapse times, it's very important to be in control of your emotions. It's very important not to feel guilt or shame, because nobody changes instantly. Whether you're trying to do better at work, whether you're trying to reorganize your day, or just try to remember to write down how many times you've done a negative behavior every day. I challenged you guys to that last Wednesday. Well, a negative behavior for me, as I mentioned, was missing videos, so I'm trying to do a video every day. Thankfully, I remembered to do one today, but sometimes I lack the self-confidence to go on. Maybe I won't be presenting the way I think. I keep darting over here to see what I look like before I look back at you. You can see how many times I subconsciously do that in the video to make sure and validate to myself that I'm presenting the way I think I am. Now I ask you, do you present the way you think you do? That is a very good question. It starts with the answer of getting in touch with your conscious and subconscious self. Creating a dialogue between your conscious, logical, concrete mind and your subconscious, emotional, abstract mind. This difference in language between your conscious self and your subconscious self is never more apparent than when you're dreaming. Dreams are so important to me because when somebody has a vivid dream that they remember, it was impactful, it can lead to a conversation about their emotional motivations. Because the subconscious self is all about that emotional drive to be happy, that placebo effect, if you will, the be happy effect. This is one of the areas that's targeted by mental resiliency training. We delve in to the subconscious mind through mind massage exercises. There are many of other ways to go about this, but I choose one called mind massage, and it's a state of relaxation, a state of consciousness where one can start to be guided to create a dialogue between the emotional self and the concrete self. The subconscious and the conscious mind can then become aligned. If your conscious mind wants you to go in one direction, again, let's pick on the smokers. Let's say, again, you want to go and stop smoking. So your conscious decision is to stop smoking. If you run into a situation of stress, your emotional self will give you the urge, which is another emotion, a non-physical, metaphysical reaction of an urge to behave the way you don't want. And that urge, if you're panicking, the more emotional you are, the more likely you're to fall back into the instinctual behaviors of the fight or flight response and continue to smoke. That's a natural process of relapse. However, if you can, in that moment, be mindful and have the communication with your subconscious mind beforehand, where you tell yourself, when I feel that stressed out, I'm not going to feel the urge for this. You can replace that urge with another emotional feeling, if only you and your subconscious, your conscious and subconscious, could get in the same room together and use those wonderful problem-solving skills. Just like in collaborative problem-solving, one of the key ingredients is to create the same dialogue. Now, I use mind massage. Please look up mental resiliency training and find other skills. Post them on down below to help everybody else out, because what works for me may not work for you, but it's definitely worth a try. Because if we can find the right language to communicate between your conscious and self-conscious mind, we can get to a point where you can introduce you to yourself. And then when I ask, have you ever met yourself? You can honestly say, yes, I have, and I like who I am. Thank you very much for listening to Rope In Mental Health. I'm Garrett Kennedy, mental health consultant. Check out my Facebook page, Kennedy Consulting, Mental Resiliency Training. Links attached to the description below. And enjoy yourselves a good day. Together, we can create a resilient, observant, positive environment for everybody. Thank you for helping me rope in mental health.